Get into multifamily right now. Like, this is the time for multifamily investing. If you can just weather the storm right now, you're going to come out of the other side. So grateful you just jumped in, but so many people are like, oh, I'll just wait till the interest rates cut. And there's no inventory. So what do you think is going to happen? The prices shoot back up, right? So now you're overpaying for an asset, and your down payment that you've been saving up now went from 100 grand to now you need 200 grand, or 200 grand to 300 grand. So are you really saving money? I think it's more smart to understand the tax game, how you can leverage real estate to create more cash flow for you, so you can jump in even though these interest rates might scare you a little bit, knowing that they're going to eventually come down in the future.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we got some sunshine out here in San Diego, and we got a big meetup tonight. But I'm very excited because I got a special guest who's in town from Newport Beach, California. He's a good friend of mine. He's an investor in our fund. He's doing really big things in the legal space and the tax space. I got my man, Karlton Dennis. Karlton, welcome back to the show for a second time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on. Excited to be back on here.
Yeah, likewise, man. Appreciate you coming down, dude. What the heck you been up to? You just recently had a kid. Congratulations.
Yeah, bro. Fatherhood is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man.
It has been an incredible transition. I'm a girl dad now.
What's your biggest takeaway, like, from not having a kid all these years and all of a sudden you're a father to a little girl?
Bro, it's honestly everything everybody says to you. You think that you know what love is, but you really don't know what love is until you look down at your baby that you created with the person that you're in love with. Every day when I wake up, like, it used to just be me and my wife. That was the woman that I loved the most. But now I look over and I see my daughter right past her on the other side. And I'm like, wow, I'm living life for that woman right there. And it's been an incredible transition as a family. And I'm loving seeing my mother as a grandmother and my father as a grandfather. And even on my wife's side, just seeing that transition with her parents. It's been incredible, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you've been with your wife for years now. You guys go way back, right?
Yeah, we'll be
High school?
celebrating. We'll be celebrating 5 years married come December. Nah, we met right actually. I graduated college back in 2015. We met in Santa Monica at the Bungalow, man. A great little outdoor restaurant, good little spot out there. But it's been history since.
I love that, dude. I'm gonna have to come up to Newport, man. I plan on taking the boat up there to Newport a few times. I love the area, so we'll definitely have to connect. I'd love to have you and the wife out sometime.
Hey, man, we can swim. We'd love to be on the boat. Yeah, let's do it.
I love that. And like you said, Nobu's got a little dock and dine option right there, so that might be a good play.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Anyways, man, so much to jump in here. So much news going on with the tax space, LLC space. We got an election year coming this year, and got an election coming up. But to start, man, tell us what's going on with bonus depreciation. What's the latest there?
Yeah, man. So I'm a big fan of being able to leverage bonus depreciation, whether you're buying a vehicle that weighs over 6,000 pounds and trying to write it all off in 1 year, or even if you're leveraging bonus depreciation with real estate and doing cost segregation studies. But Donald Trump's bonus depreciation, it's dwindling down, and we only have until the end of 2026 to really capitalize on bonus depreciation. It's at 60% for the year of 2024, and at the beginning of the year, we all got excited as investors because we heard about this bipartisan tax bill that was going to reintroduce bonus depreciation at 100% retroactive to 2024 and hold it all the way through 2025. Well, we just got news about 2 weeks ago that bill is not going to get passed this year. So we're stuck in the year of 2024 having to result in 60% bonus depreciation on our assets that qualify for that write-off. So a lot of business owners are going to have to game plan here a little bit. Those that were kind of banking on getting that bonus depreciation, you kind of need to pivot and make sure you're on top of your tax planning and your strategies.
Yeah, because I heard a lot of tax, strategists or CPAs say, hey, if you want, you might want to hold off on filing your taxes in case it comes back retroactively. Now, you mentioned for this year, it's not coming back. Is there a chance that it comes back next year or in 2026?
Yeah, so based off of how the bill is written, it would be retroactive. So let's just say that the bill does get approved in 2025. There is a possibility that we might see a retroactive amendment to our 2024 taxes. What that essentially means is you would get a credit applied to 2025 of what you thus would have paid in 2024 if bonus depreciation was 100%. The IRS has been known to do these type of retroactive, maneuvers with taxpayers before when it comes to updates. But right now, everything's up in the air. We got to first see who's going to become our president. Does our president like bonus depreciation, whoever's going to get elected? And how quickly, when that president gets in office, are they looking at a bipartisan tax bill when we have a lot of other problems as a nation?
Yeah. Speaking of presidents, obviously we got an election coming up this fall.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on with Trump, the taxes, and he's talking about getting rid of the tip thing. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to please Americans, you got to talk about taxes and employment, right? And so Trump is trying to help out the United States by reducing taxes. He implemented his Tax Cuts and Jobs Act back in 2018, and that was a huge success. So right now, he is already coming out, letting everybody know, I'm trying to do what I did previously back in 2017, but I'm trying to help even more people. There's tons of people that got impacted during COVID, were not able to go to restaurants. You weren't able to sit down outside. So the food industry just took a hit. So Trump is targeting all of those people that earn money off of tips. Even if you're not in the food industry, maybe you work in Las Vegas and you're a casino dealer. You work off of a lot of tips. Could you imagine not paying taxes on any of those tips? Well, guess what? Trump has already come out to say that he doesn't want to tax tips anymore if he were to get elected. And he's also proposed that he might want to abolish the IRS as well.
Now, real quick on the tip thing, I agree. I think this is big. It's a good way to obviously target a lot of the folks that are in the service industry. But now, I mean, when I go out everywhere, it's normal to tip. Starbucks,
Right.
car wash, picking up anything. There's always a tip thing.
Always
now.
an iPad now
Yeah.
telling you 5, 10, 15,
Yeah.
22%.
Right. But I mean, rightfully so. I mean, for these folks in the service industry, dude, I worked in the service industry when I was younger, like for literally one day. I was like literally in college, and this was before I got into sales. But I like worked at a restaurant. I dropped a pizza box in front of the whole family. They're like, "Hey, can we take this to go?" I dropped the whole pizza box in front of the whole family, and they were so nice. I was so embarrassed. The family was so nice that the dad was like, "Oh, we'll take it. Don't worry." From the floor. And that was the last day I ever worked in the service industry. So I've, since that day, always had the most respect for anyone in the service industry. So I need to take the taxes off the table for those folks that, are earning their money on their feet, hands and feet every single day. I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. These
Yeah.
people are serving everybody. And I worked as a bellman, and I
Did you?
remember getting the tips when I used to take people to their rooms in the golf cart, and my tips outweighed what my salary was, right? And maybe I was making minimum wage, but I would get $20, 40, $50 an hour sometimes in tips. That's majority of my money being taxed right there. So I could see a lot of people really benefiting from this, and a lot of people also shifting their careers to a career where they might want to become a bartender now and earn a majority of their income doing bartending and being more social and earning more money that way. So a lot of people might change their careers because of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. So, question for you. You mentioned Trump is talking about abolishing the IRS. What does he mean by that?
Okay, so Trump came out here with a bold claim of wanting to abolish the IRS, but I want you to understand this. The United States was not founded on a tax system. We were founded on a tariff system. So what that meant is that we taxed imported goods. If we needed tea or alcohol or anything that got imported to the United States, we would just tax the things that we needed imported. We never taxed US-based taxpayers until we got to war where we actually needed money. So we took money out of people's paychecks to fund the war. So we have always been a tariff nation until 1913. So I personally think that a lot of people, when they hear that, they're going to be very surprised. Wow, Trump wants to abolish the IRS. Are you kidding me? What would happen to all of our railroads? What would happen to all of our firefighters and our police officers? Well, America thrived very well before we had a federal tax system. And a lot of Americans were very happy back then. And it was a tariff system. But what if we did implement a tariff system, Rich? What would happen in the United States? Well, a lot of those goods that we sell here in the United States would start to go up too, right? You would have to buy American-based goods, and overseas goods would start to go up as well because we would have to import those goods here into the United States. So it could definitely lead to the cost of living being impacted, but the trade-off would be that you wouldn't have taxes.
Now, with all these companies out here, like, well, let's just say the military, the government spending, right? I used to work for the FAA as an air traffic controller, and I see what those government budgets are like. It's very expensive. If we went to this system, would there be enough revenue to support all that infrastructure, military, all these federal agencies? Because they'd have to lean out, right?
That is a hard question to answer, and we would just have to look at history. I mean, we got it done back then, but we're in a completely different time frame here now. We've had the money printer on for multiple years now, so it would be hard to say whether or not we would actually be able to truly operate as a level 1 country off of a tariff system versus imposing a federal income tax.
Speaking of, having the money printer on, the Federal Reserve has printed about 80% of the money supply since 2020. And I personally, I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, if we just think long term, the national debt just keeps going up and up.
Yes.
But, I think for the folks out there, you're thinking about inflation and rent growth and all these sort of things.
Unemployment.
I'm like, control what you can control, right? Invest into things that are a good hedge against inflation, right? Such as real estate, hard assets, things that are not tied to emotion, such as the stock market. Like this building, for example, that we're recording in. This building was built in the 1800s. And initially it was built as industrial. They would manufacture products here. The railroad tracks are right behind us. And they would roll all supplies down to the ships. There's a dock right here about 400 yards away. They load up ships and they would like export it out. But the cool thing about real estate is like 130 years later, this building is still operating. It's still bringing in cash flow, where 80% of the original companies in the S&P 500 are no longer in business today. So you think about that from a longevity perspective, real estate is evergreen, which I do love. And that's why I'm always say like, invest into hard assets, invest into assets that you can look, touch, and feel it.
150%. I always say this, real estate is tried and true, man. It was here before you and I were here, right? Our ancestors, man, focused on trying to build homes and protect themselves. Real estate will always be the most important asset that you can invest your money into. And it's always going to come with the best benefits. It's why the IRS gives you depreciation. You don't get depreciation when you invest in stocks, right? You have the ability to borrow from the equity inside of your investment tax-free. I love that. And that's why I always invest in real estate long-term.
Yep, absolutely. So question for you, man. So I've never been audited. I know Ryan Pineda recently got audited. I do know some folks that have been audited. What exactly happens regarding the IRS when you get audited?
Yes. So typically, IRS audits happen over two different things: mistakes and you reporting things in categories that you should not have reported things in. That being said, sometimes business owners make mistakes off their tax returns and they'll receive a letter from the IRS. And by the time that they've actually looked down at that letter that's been in their mail for the last 30 days, the IRS has already told them that they should have responded by a particular date. Now you have an actual human instead of a computer that gets assigned to you, and that person can determine whether or not to go into an audit or just keep assessing you until you can determine with the IRS that your expense is justified. Typically with the IRS, you're guilty until proven innocent. So it's not the other way around where you're innocent until proven guilty. It is your goal. It is your job as a taxpayer to provide substantiation over your expenses to the IRS to thus justify the expense that you're trying to take and alleviate an audit from ever happening. But if you can't provide the documentation or what the IRS is asking for in a timely manner, the IRS can have probable cause to open up an audit case for you, where now they want to look at more things than that little expense that they were looking at. Maybe you use the category miscellaneous. Not very many people know what miscellaneous means, but you decided to put some expenses in the miscellaneous category and you decided not to respond to the IRS. So now they're going from miscellaneous category to your other category called other expenses that you decided to use because you didn't know where to put your other expenses. So you put it in the other expenses category. And then the IRS decided that they want to go from your 2024 tax return to your 2023 or your 2023 to your 2022 because you're taking too long to respond to them. So dealing with the IRS is all about speed. If you can get on top of any letters that come in, any communication with the IRS, immediately get them the documentation that they're looking for with an explanation around why you took that expense with valid proof of the expense, you can alleviate 99% of audits that actually end up happening.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And that's, honestly, just like moving with speed when people need something, that's like, you can apply that to anything in life. Decision-making, pivoting within business, working with clients, like the faster you move, the better the result typically is going to be or the outcome.
Oh, 100%.
And so it makes sense with the IRS. However, I would say most government agencies do not move quick. Working for the FAA, I saw how that works. But, and so what are how far back do they typically go? Do they go 5-6 years back, or is it typically like just the last couple of years?
So the IRS can assess you up to 7 years, but they will typically audit you up to 3 years. And the reason why the IRS will typically audit you up to 3 years is because you as a taxpayer have the ability to refile your tax returns up to 3 years to claim a refund. So if you want to include tax deductions that you forgot about on your 2023 returns or your 2022 returns due to negligence, whatever it might be, technically you could refile those tax returns, claim the expense, and now you're getting a refund back from the government, right? But hold on a second. What if that refund is 100 grand, a million plus, right? You think the government is just happy to just issue out these refunds for people who missed their deductions on their tax returns because they didn't fill it out correctly that first time? So sometimes you'll see audits occurring with taxpayers who are doing what's called 1040Xs. Anytime you see an X at the end of a return, that means the return has been amended and refiled. And those returns have a higher chance of getting audited than an original return.
That makes sense. So get it right the first time is what you're saying.
Essentially, yeah, you got to get it right the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of talk right now with, shifting demographics. We got the millennial demographic that is moving, they're buying homes for the first time. They're starting families. You just started a family yourself.
Yeah.
And then we get the baby boomers that are living longer. They're not moving out of their house and selling as early as they once did. And then we get the Gen Zs that are even larger than the millennials. They're moving out of their parents' house for the first time. They're looking for apartments to rent. So there's a lot of talk with these shifting demographics right now. Tell me the pros and cons of employing or placing your child on payroll.
Oh, man. Well, first off, you're teaching them life skills. I flash back to when my mother invited me into her tax and accounting office when I was 14 years old. And at the time, I was not thrilled about working in a tax office, but she had me picking up staples off the ground and, picking up printer paper. This was back then before everything was digital, right? So you filed paper tax returns with the IRS. You sent in your tax returns via mail. But it taught me a lot about discipline. It taught me a lot about hard work. I even learned how to pick up the phones and talk to people that were business owners and real estate investors as I grew in that position that I was in. But more importantly, it taught me the value of money because I earned money at that time. And that was the money that I had to spend if I wanted to go do things. If I wanted to go to the movies, I wanted to go hang out with my friends. My parents aren't ripping me off $20 bills out of their pocket. They're ripping me off money off of my paycheck that I got for working for their business. Now, you ask me what's the benefit? I'm a tax professional. We get to write off $14,600 per child on the tax returns. That's over $29,000 if we have 2 children. If you're at a 37% tax rate, man, you're looking at over $10,000 in savings, and we're just talking 2 kids. So you could really save money on your taxes by simply employing your children without them needing to file a tax return, while also simultaneously teaching them life skills and being able to learn the family business.
Is there an age cutoff for that or no?
18 is the cutoff to when the child has to, 1, report the income, and 2, file a tax return.
So they could be 1 and you can literally employ them?
Well,
legally?
if you are going to go as far as to hire somebody that's only 1 year old, you're going to have an uphill battle of proof to show that you were able to leverage your child as a child actor, advertising, marketing, that then led to you generating income.
What if you have a 1-year-old child and they're like a big part of your social media, which is marketing for your business?
Absolutely, they can.
They're
a child actor.
They're in your videos.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say that if you're going to pay a child like that, I wouldn't probably go all the way to the extent to try to push all the way up to the standard deduction, $14,600.
Like partial.
Yeah, but I may have a partial payment, maybe $2,000, $3,000 for the year for my daughter coming on and being on my websites, doing modeling or whatever it might be to market that we place children on payroll as a tax and accounting company, right? So yeah, it needs to be reasonable.
That makes sense. Now, how about placing your spouse on payroll? What are the pros and cons of that?
Okay, so some of the pros to placing your spouse on payroll is, well, 1, you get a tax deduction anytime you place anybody on payroll. It's nice that you have a spouse that you can place on payroll, and that person can get a deduction, whether it's a he or a she. That person can work with you inside of the business, earn a salary for it, and the business benefits because it's a tax deduction to the business. That being said, maybe you care about your wife or you care about your husband having a retirement account too. Well, if they're not currently employed, you can employ them inside of your business, whether it's an LLC or an S corporation, place them on salary, and then also provide them with a 401k group plan so they can contribute $20,000 to their 401k and get a tax deduction for that as well. So this is a way in which you can help your wife or help your husband work inside of the business, reduce the tax bill, and contribute to both of your guys' retirement accounts simultaneously. The downsides, though, for some taxpayers who are jumping into this without working with a tax strategist is for those taxpayers that want to use real estate to offset their tax bill, their spouses actually need to be unemployed and not receiving W-2 income. And the reason I say this is because the IRS has this rule called real estate professional status, where you have to show the government you're spending more time in real estate than any W-2 or 1099 job that you're in. So if I have my wife working inside of my business and she's the real estate professional, we have to track all of the hours that she's working in the business and all of the hours that she's working as a real estate professional. And the hours that she works as a real estate professional has to meet 750 and be more than the hours that she spent being a W-2 taxpayer working underneath the business. And for many taxpayers, that's hard to justify when they find out about these tax strategies late in the year and they miss out on massive amounts of savings.
Wow. And so remind me, if you employ your spouse, what is the additional deduction, the max deduction for there?
You get the payroll tax deduction of whatever salary you place them on payroll for. So if the business made $1 million and you pay your wife $100K, now the business is only being taxed at $900,000.
Got it.
That being said, you could also place your spouse on a 401k plan. So that's another $20,500 that's going into the 401k right there, right? So now you reduce your tax bill down even further. So it's payroll deductions that you're receiving by placing your spouse on payroll.
Would this work with like a girlfriend as well? It has to be married.
No, it does not have to be married. So if you had a
It could be
girlfriend
yeah.
or a boyfriend that you would like to work inside of the business, you can place them on payroll to give them the W-2 salary and shift income to them and reduce the business's overall profits. Or if it's a girlfriend, or same thing, you would be able to place them on payroll or 1099 and shift income to them, reducing the overall tax bill for the business owner.
Because as I grow, I know a lot of guys value like a partner that's gonna, go out there and make money and that sort of thing. And then the dual income is going to effectively allow you to live a better lifestyle. But as I grow, I really don't value a woman or partner, potential partner, that is going to be tied down to a 9 to 5, only be able to take a couple weeks of vacation a year. I now value a woman that's going to have availability to go out and explore the world and live this journey with me, right? I just grinded to reposition my life to where I'm not working that 9 to 5, to where I have a little bit of freedom to where I can go do cool things. And so I want a spouse that's going to have the availability. I value that. But I also want a spouse that's going to, stay at home and support in raising the family, raising the kids and all that sort of thing when the right time comes for that. But in the meantime, I was actually hanging out with my neighbor recently, and this guy named Zeb, he's the founder of ClickUp.
Oh, nice.
$5 billion company. Really cool dude. And he's been living right in the penthouse right below me for like the last year. And he's only there on Tuesday nights, 1 day a week. He lives somewhere else for the rest of the week. But everyone's like, oh, you got to meet Zeb. Finally met him like 3 weeks ago. Coolest freaking dude. He's only 35 years old. He's running this freaking massive company, 2,000 employees. And he's gearing up to go public here in about a year. Great dude. But anyways, what he's saying is he's got an executive assistant, but he also has a personal assistant.
Oh, nice.
His personal assistant does all the day-to-day at the house, cooks, cleans, runs all the errands, personal stuff for him, something that his executive assistant does not do. And I thought, man, it'd be cool, because I want that. But I'm like, well, if I had a girlfriend, like a stay-at-home girlfriend that could do all those things, I could employ her to do all those things. And then it's kind of a win-win scenario, right? So
100%.
That was where my mind went.
I love that, man. When me and my wife were going through COVID, she was actually working with another employer at the time, and I was building my business and it was taking off. And that was the time that I asked her, hey, can you leave your employer? I'm spending time in this business and I could really use the help. Plus, our lifestyle is becoming a little bit different where, if I want to take off for 5 or 6 days, I have the ability to. You're kind of tied to the desk right now. And it was a hard transition because she was passionate about what she did. She was helping, people that, weren't able to walk, get into these very luxurious wheelchairs. And she was working for a medical device company doing that. But I explained to her, you're helping this business grow, and there's no guarantee that this business is going to keep you long-term or plan for your retirement long-term or has thought about how to take your salary from where it is to triple the amount, right? While also giving you the time back. But I'm building a family business for the both of us. What if we were to spend time in this business together and it gave us both the lifestyle that we want? And then it gives you the choices that you want to be able to do. If you want to go back to that job or if you want to never work again, it gives you the choices. And so she made the hard choice. It was very hard. She cried about it. But fast forward now, she absolutely loves being a business owner. She's the one encouraging me. Let's go take off on a vacation, go work in Miami or somewhere for a week. And it is so much more enjoyable having a wife that understands the grind, understands the stress, understands the long hours, understands dealing with clients, patients, all of that stuff. And it's allowed for us to bond way deeper.
Yeah. Question for you. You and your wife take really badass vacations. And I'm curious, over the last couple of years, what is the one vacation, one spot that you guys have gone to in the world that you're like, this is the spot every listener listening to this podcast right now should go to at some point in their lives?
Okay, so every listener right now needs to book a trip to Turks and Caicos and stay at the Aman Yara.
Okay.
The Aman Group has put together one of the best hotels in the world, and their Aman Yara is in Turks and Caicos. This resort only has about 30 to 35 rooms in total. It's about $3,000 to $4,000 a night. It is a complete oasis. I'm talking about if you need a complete mental reset, you want to go meditate on the beach by yourself, it literally feels like you have the entire resort to yourself, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'd highly recommend staying at the Aman Yara. Whether you're single, whether you have a spouse, it is just so romantic. It is a getaway spot. And me and my wife spent about 4 or 5 days there, and we came back home just being like, what is life? Like, this is just crazy. We felt like we were like on the road to heaven while we were in Aman Yara. It was just so beautiful there.
And so being down there in Turks and Caicos, best time of year, what would you say, fall, spring?
I would definitely say fall, spring. Yeah, we went to Turks and Caicos like March, April, and it was beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
No hesitation right there.
Oh, for
Spoke
sure.
with
And
conviction.
I've gone to a lot of places, man. I've gone to Mykonos, Lake Como,
Yeah.
all that. You know, that hotel was the most well-done hotel that I've ever been to. I mean, you have a concierge right outside your room, bicycles to rip and run through the entire island. It's beautiful, man.
I love that.
You would love it.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yes.
Maybe
Aman Yara.
next spring. If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. So anyways, man, so we talked about wife on payroll, kids on payroll. Everyone's been telling me, man, lately, they're like, yo, Rich, you got to step the watch game up. And, so I'm like, okay, I'm starting to look at some watches, everyone's like, oh, you got to start with a good Rolex. And so I'm starting to look around, man. So I saw you put out a video recently talking about how you can write off a Rolex. So how can someone go buy a Rolex and write it off?
All right, so let me preface this. Not everybody can write off a Rolex.
Okay.
Only certain people can write off Rolexes. Now, I did have a client write off a Rolex because his intention was to become a watch trader. So what he ended up doing was he created a YouTube channel educating other people about watch trading. He bought a bunch of watches, Rolexes, APs, and he carried them as inventory for his business. And he provided a link to a website where he priced all of the watches for sale. So it wasn't like he wasn't intentionally trying to sell his watches. He set up a business, he educated other people, he created a website, he had a mentor or a coach. He spent time in the business, and guess what he did? He wrote off those watches as inventory for his business. And it allows for him to be able to wear the watches too, because he markets the watches where he goes out to restaurants, you name it. People see the watch, they ask questions, he refers them to his YouTube channel, they get educated, and then they can go to his website and make a transaction with him. He's running a business around watch trading, but it all started with his passion of just wanting a Rolex.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
I would have never thought about that, but that's a unique thing. So question for you. We talk a lot, people talk a lot about, writing off cars and that sort of thing, talking about planes. Is there such thing as writing off a yacht?
Yeah, there's a such thing as writing off a yacht. Why wouldn't we? I wrote off three yachts already this year for clients.
Wow.
I wrote off an $800,000 yacht. I wrote off a $2.5 million yacht, and I wrote off a $2.9 million yacht. All three of the clients live in Florida. All of them also have boat slips, and we use the boat slips as a short-term rental business, which is another tax play that we could talk about. But we claimed bonus depreciation on those yachts at 60% this year. So I was taking fat deductions for those people that are using them for business purposes. Typically, those business owners are running masterminds on those yachts. They're bringing out business clients on the yachts, and they're chartering those yachts. So those are foolproof businesses bought with LLCs.
So let's talk about this situation. So I just got my first boat ever 2 months ago, took delivery in June. So this is the 2024 tax year as we speak. So we're looking at 60% of the purchase price. Is there a write-off to the sales tax?
Yes, absolutely.
There is, because that was a good chunk as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then what about the maintenance? You mentioned the slip fee.
Yes.
What about all the additional maintenance, the diver, the boat cleaner, any of the repairs that are needed for the boat, is that all a write-off as well?
It is a write-off because you bought the boat as a business vehicle. So all of the maintenance for that vehicle, all of the repairs for that vehicle are all considered business expenses, similar to an investment property. If I need to update the toilets or make repairs, all of those are tax deductible in the year that I incurred them.
Okay. And what about the improvements? Let's say, hey, I need to put radar on the boat, upgrade the sound system, getting the boat wrapped. I got Starlink, so I could be out in the water and actually work when I have Wi-Fi when I'm anywhere in the ocean. Any of those items deductible?
So normally when you're making improvements to business vehicles, improvements have to be capitalized, which means they're depreciated over the course of time. However, Donald Trump created Code Section 179 plus Code Section 168K, which means that if you have qualified improvement property that you're adding to your business or to a vehicle that has useful life of less than 20 years, the IRS allows for you to write that off in 1 year at 60% bonus depreciation. So that's Starlink. If it costs $100,000, we can write off 60% of that in year one. The rest of it is going to have to be written off over the course of time.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I am bringing mastermind members out on the water, and I plan to do more events where I bring investors out there, mastermind members, all that sort of thing. Is there like a ratio that I should be like using it for business versus personal in order to maximize my returns?
Well, your boat is essentially all business, it seems like, because you're filming content on your boat 100%, and that's how you attract your investors. The events that you throw invite investors where they have the opportunity to jump into your real estate fund. I don't think, based off of what I've seen, I don't think you've used your boat yet, personally, based off of what I've seen. But that being said, what does the IRS think? Well, the IRS is going to want to know, is that boat that Rich purchased 80% business use, 20% personal use, 100% business use, 0% personal use? You have to define that on the tax returns. And if you're audited, they're going to want you to substantiate documentation to show the amount of personal hours you were on the boat versus business hours that you were on the boat in the year. So you kind of have to have a time log.
I do have a big flag on the back that says Summers Capital. And since I'm always on social media, could you argue, hey, like it's a marketing expense? I'm 100% of the time I'm on the boat. I got the big flag. It's on social media. We're getting eyeballs to the actual company.
I think that there's an argument for that, but then again, it becomes an argument to the IRS, right? It's like if you're riding on the boat and you have your flag on the back and you're marketing it, it's one thing to have your sticker on the back of your car or your flag on the back of your boat and say it should be a write-off. It's another thing to actually take business clients on the boat, have a business event that's been scheduled, it's on the calendar, there's documentation around it.
Yes.
And that creates a much better and more compelling story to an IRS agent versus, I just had my flag on the back.
Yeah. That does make a lot of sense. And then how long do I need to own this boat to, let's just say I take advantage of the 60% bonus depreciation this year. How long do I need to own the boat for in order for that to still be the case? Like if I go sell the boat next year, let's say next year I trade the boat in for a bigger boat. How would that all work?
If you decide to sell the boat and buy a new boat, which could be a trade, the IRS views that as a taxable event. You're going to have to record the sale, and the depreciation that was taken on the tax return comes back to you on a 1099 form, and that's reportable income to you, the taxpayer, at ordinary income rates. And the reason why is because the IRS gave you an incentive for buying such a large piece of equipment, a vehicle that weighs well over 6,000 pounds, a yacht. So we're going to give you an incentive, but you're saying, hold on a second, I don't want this anymore, I'm selling it. So they're going to come back and retract that incentive and say, all of that depreciation you took last year in 2024, well, now it's income to you in 2025.
Now, if I buy another boat in the same calendar year that's larger,
yes,
higher dollar amount, then I can recapture all that. But next year's gonna be 40%.
That's correct. So now you have
right?
to, now you're playing a game there where it's like, okay, if I sell my first boat, I'm going to have depreciation recapture, but then I can go buy a bigger boat and cover the depreciation tax or cover the tax with the additional depreciation. But the downside is that depreciation's at 40% next year. So maybe this bigger boat I have to buy is even bigger than what I wanted to buy now, all for avoiding taxes, right? Maybe it isn't all for avoiding taxes. It's truly how your business makes money, is having these boats in these events. I would then justify upgrading a boat.
Yeah. Because I think that's how the game works. It's like you get in the game, you either love it or you don't, right? And I hear a lot of people that don't love it. They say, oh, best 2 days of boat owner is day one and the day you sell it. But I got in this thing. I am using her every single day, every single night. I am just obsessed. I love being on the water. And so I already told the dealer, I'm like, I'm like, tee up a bigger boat. In the yeah, at some point,
Well, it's
right?
already happening.
It's gonna happen.
Do I need to get a
'Cause
boat then too,
dude, you
Rich?
got to get in the game, dude. I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now, man. Like going to Catalina, I'm out there
My
like every other
family is
weekend
not
now.
strong swimmers, man. I'm the only one.
It's okay. It's okay. There's swim coaches out there, man. But I'm telling you right now, man. Like I go to Catalina now every single weekend. I was just out there last weekend. I'm going back this weekend. 2.5 hours away. It is like a touch of Greece and a touch of the Nepali coast. It is freaking beautiful. It's only 2.5 hours on boat from San Diego. You're in Newport. You get out there in an hour. And I'm telling you right now, dude, like when you're staying on a boat in Catalina, it's a whole different ball game. My buddy Champagne Dave, actually I connected you with Champagne Dave.
He's cool.
He's very cool dude. So he's got the Champagne yacht, which is like his business.
Right.
And then he's got a personal yacht, which is a 72-foot Sunseeker. And so he's out there all the time. I'm hanging out with him. You get into his rows, because like the first row, Catalina is like all the smaller boats, like 30 feet and under. And then the next row will be like 40 feet and under, and it gets bigger and bigger. But you get into his row and the row behind him, like those 2-3 rows, you're talking 80-foot, 100-foot yachts. And I mean,
how much does a 80, 100-foot yacht cost?
You're looking at minimum like $2 million for a very used one, all the way up to like, maybe like $8 or $9 million, right, for a nice 100-foot yacht. But a lot of these folks out there, they are high performers. They're all business owners or real estate developers, real estate investors, and very, very nice people. Like the nicest, most humble people you will ever meet, and the friendliest. Like I have not met one yacht owner out in Catalina that is not like the nicest person you ever meet. And they're like, oh yeah, come on my yacht. But next thing you know, you're hanging out with them. Their wife's like pouring drinks, cooking up food, and like literally the nicest people you ever meet. So from a networking standpoint, it's opened up a whole new game. I'm in a car club called Fastlane Drive, and love the car club. I'm a big fan of Clem. He's the founder. He's going to be coming back on the pod here soon. That's opened up a lot of doors for me connection-wise. They got chapters all over. They got a chapter in Monaco now, San Diego, like literally 15 chapters now. And it's great. But now that I'm in the yacht game, it's a whole different level of money. You can lease a nice Lamborghini for $0 down and $4,000 a month, right? So some of the folks, they might not really have it. Some do, but some don't, right? I'll just call it what it is.
Yep. Call a spade a spade.
Now in the yacht game, can't fake that.
You can't fake
Most
a yacht.
of these yachts are bought with cash. It's very hard to get a loan for a yacht.
Yep.
Because the lender's like, hey,
put 50% down.
Yeah, real estate is not going anywhere, right? Yeah. But like a yacht, the yacht can sink. Yachts can disappear to Mexico. They can go away forever. And so it's very hard to get lending on yachts. Most folks just pay cash, right? That's one. Number two is just the maintenance on a yacht alone. My buddy Dave Champagne Dave that has a 72-foot Sunseeker, he's like, dude, no joke. It's $30,000 a month just for maintenance, just to keep the boat in pristine condition. Just $30,000 a month. You can't fake that, like the $0 down $4,000 a month Lamborghini owner. And a lot of these folks in those 2 rows at Catalina, they have all those nice cars. They have the Lambos, they have the Ferraris, they have the Bugattis. But guess what? They're not trying to be seen. And so it's a whole different level of money, which I've noticed being in the yacht game and kind of seeing both sides of it.
Oh, 100%, dude. The yacht people are on a different level. And for some of my clients that have the yachts, they don't care about the Lamborghinis and the Uruses and all that stuff anymore. They don't even care about that. They're playing an entirely big game. They've already had the Lamborghinis and all that stuff. So buying the yachts and the jets now is truly where they're trying to save money on taxes and network with other people that are making the type of money that they're making. I'm talking, high 7 figures, high 8-figure earners. They want to be surrounded by other people, and those other people are typically on big boats that are bigger than theirs.
Yes. Other thing I noticed, all these big yachts, like you go to like Catalina, like every boat has a Trump flag. Yeah. Every single one. I haven't seen one of the other flag.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah. But to go full circle, yes, you need to buy a yacht.
Yeah.
You got a freaking awesome. You live in Newport Beach. You're an hour from Catalina. Like,
you think so?
Oh, dude, it
would be a beneficial write-off.
Dude, you got to do it. I'm telling you right now.
I'm big on real estate.
Carlton, think about like your community mastermind, all that stuff, like on the yacht now. Think about that, dude. Like it's in the content.
I think about my family. I would hang out with my family first, and then all my clients and business clients. I need my family to become a little bit stronger in the water, man. We as a unit, when we go on vacation,
that's the easy part, man.
We kind of stay, our belly buttons don't go below the water. Like as a family unit, when we're in Cabo, Miami, just look around, my family's always above the water.
I prefer to be on top of the water than below.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you want to go scuba diving and get certified? I'm like, I have zero interest and learning how to scuba dive. Like, I'm good on top of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
man.
feel you,
But
bro.
anything can happen out there on the water though,
Yeah.
Rich, right? And if
Yeah.
you gotta jump in, go under the boat, grab something,
Yeah.
what I don't
There's
know.
always things that can go wrong. But
Yeah.
dude, you figure all that stuff out.
That's true. And you got a
Yeah.
captain, right?
Yeah. I like being the own captain of my boat. I like doing all the work. Like, I like the fenders, the lines, docking her. To me, I love that stuff. And but yeah, you could always hire a captain. There's captains out there that it's very affordable.
Okay.
Yeah, bring a private chef on. But dude, I totally see you owning a nice yacht, man, with everything that
right.
you're doing. And then there's no doubt that the content game is not going to get more eyeballs. You're going to get way more eyeballs.
If we have yacht masterminds,
Oh
that'd
my
be
gosh.
crazy.
Yeah,
That'd be
sick.
nuts. All right, something to consider.
Something to consider, man. But I'll bring it up there to Newport. We can do a little lunch together, take you guys on the boat, you and your wife, and you can kind of see for yourself.
All right, deal. You
Yeah.
bring down the boat to Newport. We'll go to Novu, and that'll give me what I need
Yeah.
to kind of make a decision.
Yep. So we talked about boats. What type of cars are the best cars to qualify for Code Section 179?
I mean, if you ask a tax strategist like me, I'm not going to give you the boring cars. The boring cars are the Escalades and the GMC Yukon Denali's and the Toyota Tundras. The clients that come to me, we're writing off G-Wagons, Bentley Bentegas, Lamborghini Uruses. We're going for the heavy hitters because the majority of these entrepreneurs that are finding me from social media. They're trying to blow up off of social media too, from their marketing. They care about being in these nice cars. And these cars that are a little bit more expensive also lead to bigger tax write-offs, right? So if you can turn around and turn a vehicle like a Lamborghini Urus into a marketing asset for you, some of these business owners are willing to spend more money to get these types of cars, knowing that it also leads to a bigger write-off, and they can turn around and market it at the exact same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, man, if your first impression is everything, right? So if you're in the business to where, you have clients, especially high ticket clients, or you're raising private capital, and you have the option to buy a car that qualifies for Code Section 179, buy a car that's going to show nice.
Yeah.
First impression is literally everything. So
absolutely.
You mentioned those. And last time you came on the podcast, you mentioned something that I found interesting. You mentioned a lot of these high-end car dealerships, they actually strategically build their cars to be more than 6,000 pounds. And they strategically have these cars set up and positioned for the clients that actually are looking for that sort of write-off. Rolls-Royce.
Tesla Cybertruck. Gross vehicle weight ratio is over 6,000 pounds. They saw what happened when everyone bought their Tesla Model X. They went right back into the factory and said, this vehicle has to be over 6,000 pounds because people benefited from the EV credit, that $7,500 credit, plus being able to write off a vehicle that weighs over 6,000 pounds, right? That's a double-edged sword. So I know the Tesla Cybertruck is a vehicle that is intentionally built to be over 6,000 pounds. As well as the G-Wagons. Those are intentionally built to be gross vehicle weight ratio over 6,000 pounds, as well as the Bentley Bentegas. People know that, business owners love to buy that Bentley Bentega, and those have been over 6,000 pounds for the last 3 years.
Is the Bentega an SUV?
Yeah, it's an SUV.
It is, okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Question for you. Do you feel like because bonus depreciation is not going back to 100, at least for this year, and next year we're going to be at 40%, do you think that's going to hurt the luxury high-end 6,000 pound cars sales?
100%.
You think
100%.
so?
Yeah. I think that more people have to do the math now to justify buying the vehicle.
Because 80% was still close enough.
80% was close enough.
Yeah.
Especially dude math.
Yeah.
Dude math is like, I'm writing off 80% of the purchase
but
price.
40% now you're like, okay, wait, what do the real numbers look like?
Yep. And what's my payment going to be? And okay, well, if I put this down payment down and I only get 40%, does this really equate to me saving money, or am I just buying a new car for the write-off? Yeah. So you have to do the math.
Yeah. Interesting. So I wonder, I'm sure these manufacturers are looking at the bonus depreciation closely.
They have to
see what happens.
Just like jet builders are looking at that too, right? Because jets are actually on a delayed depreciation schedule.
Are they? What do you mean by that?
What I mean is if you buy an aircraft this year in 2024, you can depreciate a commercial aircraft at 80% bonus depreciation, even though bonus depreciation is at 60% for vehicles and all other equipment. So I have taxpayers that are buying jets, literally buying jets this year in 2024. We're taking 80% bonus depreciation. They're taking delivery of those jets. The inspection gets done, and those vehicles are being used for business, and they're being commercially sourced out. Yeah, chartered out.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. I had Chris Crone on the podcast a little while back, but he said he's got 2.
Oh, nice.
He's got 2 that he just enrolls in charter. And he said, the goal is really to break even. So you get a free jet to go fly around, breaks even. Then obviously you get all the tax deductions on top of that, which is big. But he said, from a cash flow perspective to break even every month, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't really found a whole lot of people chartering their jets that are actually cash flowing from it. Majority of them are at a loss or they're breaking even, intentionally knowing that they got the jet just to try to break even.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. Like some people charter out their boats, but for me, I'm like, I don't want a bunch of strangers just jumping all over my boat. Like I want a nice clean boat. It's my boat.
Yeah, you're using it for business.
But I get the jet thing because the boat thing, assuming you live in a good market for it with good weather like San Diego or like Newport Beach,
Yeah.
you can use your boat every day of the year. But the jet thing, it's like, I doubt Grant Cardone uses his jet more than 20% of the year.
No,
You know what I mean?
You can't get on flights every single
And some
day.
people are probably only using it 3% of the year. You know what I mean? So then it doesn't make sense to just have your jet sitting there on the tarmac 97% of the time. You're not using it, just bleeding money. So I get why you would charter a jet, but the yacht thing, I don't think I'd want strangers just jumping all over the boat.
Yeah. I've had some fun nights on some yachts, and
Have you?
Yeah, you could definitely tear into some yacht seats and break glass on people's yachts, or people are scuffing up your yacht with shoes on. They didn't take their shoes off the boat. There's tons of ways you can ruin a yacht. But when people get on a jet, I mean, between sitting down and going to the bathroom, there's not much else you can do.
No.
So I could see a jet just, carrying the distance a lot
Mhm.
better and being a much better investment to charter out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. When you fly, do you fly first class, business class, or do you ever fly private?
Yeah, I only fly first class now.
Okay.
I think personally, for me, it's not really about anything other than lifestyle. Like my lifestyle now is where I want to be close to the front of the jet so I can get off. I want to be able to get through the airport the quickest. And that's just kind of the lifestyle I have now, where I'm just in and out of whatever city, state, or country that I'm in. And so sitting first class allows for me to confirm that I got the Wi-Fi, make sure that I got the attention from the staff members that are on the jet, and make sure I'm the first, within the first 10 people off of that jet so I can get on to whatever else I need to get onto. And that's worth it for me.
And I always say, like, in addition to that, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit additional for a ticket, a little bit more of a cost per ticket, but like the comfort that you get with it, and then the networking. I mean, not that I'm on a plane to network, but like every now and then I'll strike up a conversation with the person next to me, and it might happen to be someone that works for the San Francisco Giants that is like a bigger name person, and boom, now I got a connection, and you never know what doors or opportunities are going to open up for me because of that one connection I just made, because I decided to spend extra $300 on a first class ticket.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's priceless.
It's priceless,
You
dude.
know what I mean?
The relationships that you can garner from sitting first class is bar none priceless. I was on my way to Switzerland and I was sitting first class. My wife was next to me. She had fallen asleep, so I didn't really have anything else to do but listen to music. But the guy next to me, I saw he had a really nice watch on. And I told him, I was like, hey, I really love your watch. He takes off the watch and hands it to me. I put it on my hand. I was like, wow, this is so nice. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I work at the watch factory for Rolex here in Switzerland. Come see me. And I told my wife, I was like, we got to go see this
You gotta
guy.
go.
So
Yeah.
the very next day, we woke up and we went and found the shop. He wasn't there that day, but we told
Love that.
the people that were there that we knew him. I got back home. He had sent us a letter saying, hey, Carlton, if you're ever in Switzerland again, I promise to give you a full tour of Rolex. Consider yourself having a friend here in Switzerland. And by the way, if you need a watch, I'm only an email away. So now I have a direct line of communication to someone right in Switzerland at the Rolex factory.
Yes.
Do you think that I'm going to have to wait as long as somebody else to get a Rolex? I don't think so.
No.
So I thought that was such a cool connection to get. I had no intentions of, wanting to talk to this guy, but I just liked his watch.
Yeah.
He was sitting
All because
first class.
you sat first class.
Sat first class.
Yeah. Dude, so I'm curious, man. I see you training MMA.
Yeah.
How's that going for you? And what kind of training are you doing? Is this like jujitsu?
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
Doing
Okay.
Muay Thai, man.
Sick, dude.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
I wanted to learn how to use these hands. That's what I really wanted to do, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm having a daughter. I never want that moment to come where my daughter brings somebody home and I can't whoop his ass. I'm just being real, man.
Yeah.
If it ever push comes to shove, I protect my wife and I protect my daughter. And I got to know how to use my hands out in public. If something were to happen and we got into an altercation, I need to be able to protect my family. I played football for years, but tackling people out in public may not always work, right? So knowing how to use your hands, your legs, your feet, how to take somebody down to the ground could put you at an advantage, because 95% of people who walk the streets have zero fight training. And so I'm glad that I've been doing that. And it's helped me lose a lot of weight. I've lost 11 pounds since I've done Muay Thai, because you sweat way more than if you were just, lifting weights. So I just do double workouts now. I do the weights in the morning and then I directly go to Muay Thai right after, and it's 5 days a week and I love it.
Yeah, I can imagine doing the Muay Thai and then going right into weights. That would be like
You're
impossible, right?
exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I
Has
feel
to
like
be the other way.
strength training is like it doesn't exhaust you like that.
Yeah.
It's like when I walk out of the gym, I feel like energized. And I'm like, cool. But at cardio, if I do cardio, it's always gonna be after.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your heart rate is just through the roof when you're doing cardio.
Yeah. That's crazy, dude. So are you training in Newport Beach, Costa Mesa?
Yeah, I'm training in Irvine, right next to Newport Beach, which I go to the Equinox all the time, and right next door is the Muay Thai facility. And my Muay Thai coach is like a champion in Muay Thai, has all the belts and everything like that. So I just take private lessons with this guy, and he has been kicking my ass for the past 6 months. But I'm landing some shots every now and then in spar, and it's been getting pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's sick, dude.
Yeah.
Are you a UFC fan?
Big UFC
Yeah,
fan,
big
man.
UFC
I'm going to
fan,
be
okay.
watching the Adesanya fight this weekend. Super
Yeah.
excited.
That's gonna be a good one. Did you see they're gonna do a fight in November, I believe it is, at the Sphere in Las
Yeah.
Vegas?
Yeah. Are you going to go?
I'm gonna try to go. That looks sick.
If
dude.
you go, I'm down to go.
Okay.
The Sphere
Okay,
is
I'm down.
so beautiful. I went. Have you been to the Sphere?
I've not been yet.
It is mind blowing.
What'd you see there?
It's like your first time going to a movie theater where you have the recliner seats and the movie screen is just in your face. That's what it literally feels like. It's just, whoa. And it doesn't matter where you're sitting. The screen is so big. It is overwhelming. So I think that is going to be one of the best UFC fights ever because it's such a small venue and it's so right in your face that it's just going to be an incredible experience. I think tickets though are like starting off at like $5,000.
Yeah,
So
I looked and it was not cheap.
yeah, we're gonna have to drop some
Yeah,
money if we're trying to go.
for sure.
What do you think? Should we go?
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's do it.
And I also want to go. If you're down, let me know. But I want to go see Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler whenever that does happen. I was bummed it didn't happen in June.
They keep pushing it off.
Conor got hurt, but
Pinky toe.
Yeah,
Now he's out for the entire year. They just
they
announced.
said the whole year.
He's out.
Oh,
Dana White went on a press conference yesterday and
Okay.
said McGregor is going to be out all of 2024.
mm,
I'm like, bro, does it really take you 7 months
for
to
a
recover
pinky.
for a
Yeah,
pinky
and he used to
injury?
never pull out for anything. And then the Poirier fight happened, and then his ankle or his leg snapped. I was at that fight actually, and everyone that was there was just like, oh man, like all the hype for that, like first round too. So it sucks, but I get it. So I mean, every year that goes by where he doesn't fight again, it's like the likelihood actually comes back and fights goes down and down. But he's got one more in him. He's
Yeah,
got one
I
more
think
in
so
him.
too. The anticipation that he's built up to with this fight,
Yeah,
I can't imagine him doing anything less than 50 mil if he were to return to the stage. But you have to think about it too, is he makes so much money off the stage that it's really a hard ask for him to come back into an arena that he absolutely destroyed for a couple of years and created actually simultaneously.
and he's the definition of like really taking advantage and capturing the attention that he had and the fame. Ran with it. Ran with it.
Let's go start a whiskey brand. I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna get a Lamborghini yacht.
Yes.
I'm gonna
yeah.
go to Monaco and travel, have a bunch of kids, and start the business McGregor Fast, where I teach people how to fight and dial their body in. He started so many businesses, and guess what? He's a billionaire with a B. So it's gonna take a billionaire a lot to return to the octagon, where people were only making a couple of $100,000, and he was really one of the only fighters that ever crossed that 7-figure mark.
Agreed, dude. When I see these like big name athletes today, because they're out there and they're not leveraging the attention that they have, I'm like, dude, your shelf life is gonna only be so many years. Like you could get hurt at any point, and that's it. And so I'm like, you gotta freaking be pumping that content and building that personal brand. I was hanging out with Ryan Garcia out in Miami. Like this is 6 weeks before his fight that he had recently. And I ran into this dude, like one of my buddies actually, who's connected me with a lot of like bigger names. He's out in Miami with me. I'm out there for a speaking engagement with Jordan Belford, Wes Watson, and I'm hanging out at a rooftop event. Got a table. This is the last night of the event, and with my buddy. Shout out to Jeff and Daniel Bomarito. But they're with me, and they're like, "Hey, Ryan Garcia is gonna pull up right now and say what's up." And I was like, okay. Literally 10 minutes later, sure enough, Ryan Garcia pulls up, 3 bodyguards, his girl, one of the girls he's with, pulls up, hangs out at the table, and we hang out for like an hour. He ends up coming back with his bodyguards to my Airbnb in Brickell. And we ended up just like chopping it up, ripping all night till like 5:30 in the morning. And this is like 6 weeks before his big fight. He's drinking wine, having a blast,
Enjoying
right?
himself.
Yeah, good, very good dude.
He knows
And,
how to turn it on though when he needs to.
And I remember telling him that night, I was like, dude, I was like, you gotta start pumping the content, because at the time he was not. And I don't know if it was me or not, but fuck, he started pushing the content. Now he's just shoving it out
24/7.
24/7 on whatever. And
20 posts a day. He doesn't
yeah,
care.
he doesn't care.
Anytime he wants to post something, he just jumps on and posts something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to see him pushing it, because I'm like, he's leveraging that attention. Now that he won that fight
Yeah.
against Haney, it's like, okay, he's got the spotlight. He's the boxer that everyone's talking about right now. I'm like, I'm glad that he's taking advantage, like
Yeah.
Connor did.
Yeah.
You know?
He definitely took advantage of the spotlight. He's getting a little bit of shade just because of some of the things that he does online, but he has so many young athletes looking up to him. So I really hope that he gets back into the ring and continues to win and pour into the passionate, boxing that he started. He literally got so many people into wanting to do boxing, into wanting to do, MMA, just because he was that person that was a young athlete finding so much success, and he could relate to all of these young millennials and these Gen Z guys. You know what I'm saying? So I dig his personal brand. Obviously he's still growing and has a lot to mature into, but he's an incredible athlete, and he will be for many years to come.
Yeah. We got to get him on the pod. I know he's from San Diego, so we got to get him on here at some point, hopefully sooner than later. There's a lot of like UFC fighters I want to get on. Talking to a few of them, like Dominic Cruz. But yeah, a lot of these guys I want to get on the pod, man. And also like baseball, like San Diego Padres. They're right here downtown. I'm like, I gotta just get one of these guys on, and then it will lead to the others. So we'll see. But baseball season's like it's like they're just getting warmed up right now. So after the season's the right time to hit them. And then we're talking with Tobias Harris, NBA All-Star for the Sixers.
Yeah.
He's actually out in La Jolla right now for the offseason. His little brother came on my podcast about a year ago, and he's like a big real estate developer right now. So talking to Tobias, I'm like, got to get one of these guys on.
Absolutely,
So we'll
you do.
But,
We got to penetrate into the athlete market. I saw
Yeah.
you had Golden Tate on. That was a great one. That was solid.
Golden's great, dude.
Yeah.
He was living up in Carlsbad not too long ago. And then he just moved, but he was in Carlsbad for like the last 5 years, and then he just moved.
I wonder if he moved to a non-tax state.
I forget where he went. I don't think it probably was. It was somewhere like inland, because I think his wife's family is from there, but it was somewhere like towards the Midwest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So I was like, dude, you'll be back in San Diego in no time. Anyways, bro. Yeah. So back to the tax stuff, dude. So STR loophole. I know this is a big thing a couple years ago. I know you help a lot of folks with this tax strategy. What exactly is the STR loophole?
It's just a way for you to show the IRS that your rentals are active instead of passive. And in return, you can use active losses to offset active income. W-2, 1099, crypto, stock, you name it. If I'm able to show that my short-term rental is an active business, I can do cost segregation studies and create a paper loss and offset my W-2 and 1099 income. Probably had close to about 100 taxpayers not pay any taxes last year that did this strategy successfully.
Question for you. We manage short-term rentals for a select few. We don't do it for anyone, but like some of our investors will manage their short-term rentals, and like some folks in our community, if it's the right fit, we'll operate for them. But we mostly operate so we can self-manage our own stuff. Those clients that we manage their short-term rentals for, is there a way that they can take advantage of this STR loophole if they have high-paying W-2 jobs?
The only way that they would be able to take advantage of the STR loophole is if someone else is managing the property, is if they can show that they're spending more time than the property manager managing over that same property. So they would have to track the property manager's hours and their own material participation hours, because if I'm the IRS auditor, I would need to see who is the person managing the property and how much time did they spend managing, because the rules state that you have to spend 100 hours and more than any other person. And if you're the other person, I have to get your time logged too to prove to the IRS that I spent more time than you.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then you told me before we started recording, you have a new strategy, which I'm really excited to hear about. You call it the self-rental strategy. What the hell is that, man?
Yeah, so kudos to Mark Kohler for this. The self-rental strategy is for business owners who want to buy real estate, but don't want to qualify for real estate professional status or run short-term rentals. And many of my business owners who I work with are doctors, chiropractors, attorneys. So it would make sense for them to have some type of commercial building or an office space. So if we buy a commercial building or an office space, and technically it doesn't have to be commercial, it could be residential, we can do the self-rental strategy where we rent the office space to that business, typically an S corporation, and then we group that business, that rental property with that business. So that way you don't have to spend 750 hours or 100 hours. You're already spending time in an active business already. And the IRS will allow for you to make a grouping election to group an investment property in with your active business and perform a cost segregation study offsetting the tax balance of your S Corp or your LLC. So we have some of our taxpayers who are leveraging the self-rental strategy and buying commercial buildings and grouping the commercial building with their S corporation, performing the cost seg and offsetting the taxes on their S Corp.
So give me an example of how that would work. You got a business, and then what?
Okay, so let's just say I'm a chiropractor and I've been just, going to different clinics and helping out different people, but now I'm ready to start my own chiropractic practice. So I decide that I'm going to create my website, build my business, but now I need my own storefront. And rather than leasing a space, I thought it might be a better investment to buy a space. So when I buy a space, I'm going to buy it underneath an LLC, different than my S corporation that I have over here. But with the grouping election that the IRS allows for, it's called the -4 grouping election, I can group this LLC commercial building with my S corporation and make it all one activity on the tax returns. Because my S corporation is an active business and I'm providing chiropractic services, and this commercial building has been grouped into this activity, it makes this an active real estate investment. And so I don't have to qualify as a real estate professional or show the IRS a log booklet. It's grouped with an S corporation that's already an active business that I materially participate in. So now I can do the cost segregation study on that property, create a loss, offset.
That is so good. I haven't heard anyone talk about this before.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I give my flowers to Mark Kohler because I take some of his training classes and he brought this to my attention. And since I learned it, I did my research on it, and me and my team have been utilizing this for the past 9 months.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, this is good to know. The self-rental strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it, man. This is why the listeners tune into this freaking podcast, man. To get some nuggets from Karlton Dennis.
100%.
I love it, man. I love it. So, dude, I got to ask you, man, I eat a lot of Uber Eats because I just don't have time to cook, right? And, I know some folks out there, they're like, oh, dude, Rich, you got to try the private chef thing. It's actually not as expensive as you think. A lot of benefits of it. So I'm like, I told the team about 6 weeks ago, I'm like, hey, let's bring on a private chef. Let's just try it part-time in the office. Just have her come in on Mondays. And so she'll come in on Mondays, typically like around 10 a.m. She'll start prepping and start cooking food. She'll make me like a nice lunch for Monday. And then she'll meal prep meals for the rest of the week that I can eat here in the office. And so it's been good. And it's a replacement of all the Uber Eats that I was doing while I was in office. And cost-wise, it's really not that much more than what I was spending on Uber Eats. And so I'm liking it so far. And it's been a good adjustment so far. And I think health-wise, it's been great. But tell me how you can write off a private chef.
One way in which you can write off a private chef is if you invite business clients over to your house or over to your place of business, and you obviously invite the chef. You're going to have the chef pay for all the food, all of this stuff, and you're going to cover all the food as well, right? But the IRS allows for you to be able to deduct meals at 50% this year. So if I invite my private chef and he's $1,000 for that meal and cooking all these meals for my business clients, I'm going to be able to deduct $500 that day. And many business owners are inviting private chefs over to their primary residence houses. And these business owners are also inviting over their business clients to their houses. And they're having business meals leveraging the private chef, typically 2 or 3 times out of the week. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that sometimes will do this for their staff members. If you're doing it for your staff members, you're able to write off 100% of the meals. If you're doing it for a business client, you're able to write off 50% of the meals. So if you decide to have a private chef come in and you're providing food for you and your staff, that's 100% deductible for you and your staff. If you bring business clients in or you go to a business venue and you spend money on food, that's 50% deductible for business.
That's really good to know because there's always more meals than I can eat. And so I was telling the team, hey guys, like help yourself if you guys want any of the meals in here.
Oh yeah, of course.
So then that's the golden nugget right there.
Absolutely. And you spending that additional money obviously leads to more tax write-offs for you and better retention amongst your staff, right? So this is a way in which the IRS can incentivize you, right? You're spending more money, which the IRS loves when people spend money and create transactions. But in return, you're getting the tax deduction because you decided to provide the food to your staff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, dude. That's good to know. That's really good to know. So we talked a lot about stuff here, man, but I get a lot of questions in the real estate industry. We host a meetup and I get a lot of questions about like living trusts and revocable versus irrevocable. What is the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust?
I look at it like this. A revocable trust is a trust that you have the combination to the lock. You can open it back up, put stuff into it whenever you want to, lock it back up, reopen it back up, take stuff back out of it. That's a revocable living trust. It's a it's a place to store assets that you can also take them back out of in your lifetime while you're living. So it's revocable. You can revoke it at any time and make updates to it. An irrevocable trust means that as soon as you have put stuff into it, that stuff that got put into it got locked at the time that you put it in. And guess what? You ain't got the combination code to unlock it. You can only put stuff in. You cannot take stuff out. And if you try to take stuff out of an irrevocable trust, you are going to pay high estate taxes as high as 40%. And so many people who use the irrevocable trust are typically high net worth taxpayers who are trying to avoid estate taxes for their heirs. So, Rich, if your estate is over 11 million as a single individual, your children who inherit your estate, anything in excess of 11 million, they're going to have to pay taxes on it. If you have more real estate, which I'm sure you do, they're going to pay taxes on all that real estate, all your assets that they inherit, right? So if you transition assets out of your revocable trust into an irrevocable trust, you're taking assets out of your estate to avoid estate taxes for your heirs when they inherit your estate later on, right? So this is a wealth building tool to a certain extent because many people who use revocable living trusts typically are using them to pass assets on to their heirs so their heirs can receive what's called a step up in basis. If I bought a property for $200,000 and at the time that I die, it's worth, $1 million, that's an $800,000 gain that my daughter would have to pay taxes on if I didn't have a revocable living trust. The revocable living trust allows my daughter to get that step up in basis. That $800,000 gets stepped up to $1 million. Now she can turn around and sell $1 million property and pay no capital gains taxes on it, right? That's tax-free wealth. And so the revocable living trust is a tool to transfer wealth onto the next heir. An irrevocable trust is a tool to mitigate estate taxes while also simultaneously transitioning assets to your heirs.
Question for you in this example. The 200K home goes to $1 million. It's in a say it one more time.
Irrevocable living trust?
Yep. And then it goes to the children.
Yes.
They don't pay any taxes on it. They could sell it. Now, what if they hold it and give it to their children and now it's worth $10 million? Does that second generation still get to take advantage?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is how the Kennedys became the Kennedys and the Trumps and the Trumps became the Trumps, man. They've just been transferring wealth, doing 1031 exchanges, using various different trust structures, Rockefellers too, man. And once you get deep into estate tax law, you start to realize that it's really a game just like the tax code game is, just written differently. It's around contracts and what's written in the contract. And contract law is a lot different than IRS law. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Side note, so my friend Stephanie Myers, she's a news anchor for a political station, and she's always out interviewing all these politicians and that sort of thing. But she sent me a text the other day, like last week, I had no idea. And she goes, "Hey, did you know Donald Trump Jr. follows you on Instagram?" And so I look it up, and sure enough, he's following me, but he's also following my man Karlton Dennis.
Yeah. I just learned about that today.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Which is pretty cool. I think he started following me after Donald Trump got shot in the ear, and I posted that video. Within 30 minutes, we got a video out talking about the fact that Trump got shot in the ear, and you can't take this man down. And this is not good for the country, obviously, if our president's getting shot, giving a press conference, whatever it might be. But I saw Donald Trump Jr. like that post, and he reposted it right away to his story. And then it went from like 200,000 views to 3 million views in about an hour. So definitely, he's probably checking in on me, making sure he's staying in, keeping abreast of all the tax knowledge. But that's pretty cool that he's following us.
Yeah, definitely random, dude. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what plays out. We got the election coming up, and then how the interest rate environment plays out as well. There's a lot of talks on interest rate right now. What's the Fed going to do? They're talking about multiple cuts now, so we'll see.
We already know what the Fed is going to do, Rich. Come on, man.
What's your prediction?
They can only do one thing.
Yeah.
They can only cut rates.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that they can do. Unemployment is alarmingly high. It's over 4%. People are hitting the panic button. And I think that the Fed has already announced that they're not going to wait until 2025 to cut rates. So we know that the rates are going to cut. We're seeing in the mortgage side of it, interest rates slowly starting to creep back down. I saw some sixes and some
spreads are coming down,
some high fives, but I do think we're going to see a dramatic cut. Not a dramatic, but like a nice cut.
Mm-hmm. I'm still shocked. I mean, I say it all the time. I'm shocked that the rate environment has more than doubled over the last 2.5 years now, about 30 months, and we have not seen housing prices in real estate, most real estate markets around the country, housing prices have remained relatively untouched. And had you told any real estate investor that 2.5 years ago, they would have thought you were crazy. But I think it's truly a testament to how strong the supply-demand fundamentals really are in America right now. We talked a little bit earlier in the show about the shifting demographics. The boomers are living longer. The millennials are buying houses for the first time. And so the demand side's never been higher. But then on the supply side, there's a lot of articles I've read that say we're 5 to 6 million housing units short of where the demand should be nationwide. But that's not including the 25, 30 million dilapidated homes in America that are not livable. They're not rentable. You can't even get bank loans on. You throw those into the mix, and we're like 30 million housing units short across about 330 million Americans. And builders have slowed down. We had COVID in 2020. And then now we're in a high rate environment. A lot of these builders are like, hey, I'm going to see what happens, right?
Yep.
Cost of building is more expensive. There's a lot more risk to building right now.
For sure.
And so this is only going to further increase that gap between the supply and the demand. So I'm like, yo, when these rates come back down, I see a lot of appreciation and a lot of
me too.
A lot of money out there.
Get into multifamily right now.
Yes.
Like, this is the time for multifamily investing. If you can just weather the storm right now, you're going to come out of the other side so grateful you did. So grateful you just jumped in. But so many people are like, oh, I'll just wait till the interest rates cut. And there's no inventory. So what do you think is going to happen? The prices shoot back up, right? So now you're overpaying for an asset, and your down payment that you've been saving up now went from 100 grand to now you need 200 grand, or 200 grand to 300 grand. So are you really saving money? I think it's more smart to understand the tax game, how you can leverage real estate to create more cash flow for you, so you can jump in even though these interest rates might scare you a little bit, knowing that they're going to eventually come down in the future.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think like the real estate game is about cash flow, but the more I learn about it, the real estate game is about debt and taxes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, man.
Man, I appreciate you coming down, dude. It's always great catching up, man. I'm a fan of everything you're doing, and appreciate you being an investor in our fund, all that stuff, dude. Where can the listeners get in touch with you, bro?
Karlton Dennis on every single platform. Reach out to us, guys. If you have any questions as it pertains to your taxes, or if you just want a second look under the hood for tax strategy purposes, you guys can reach out. Be happy to help.
There it is. He's Karlton Dennis. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.